going to, okay, awesome. Okay, well, welcome to our first episode of our podcast. I guess I didn't ask, what should we call each other? Like, do you want us to just use our first names, or
Yeah, yeah, you can call me Riley. That's fine.
we're speaking about each other in the third person, I guess. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
very
I
cool.
mean, I did like the Pandora
Yeah,
tag or whatever, but
sure.
we'll just stick with Riley. Riley's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we could come up with like archetype names, right? Like I could be Hypatia because that's my channel name.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like I think the name Pandora, like I know it's like a female, character, but a woman character, but I just love the name and I don't
Yeah.
know, like resonates with me. I love like the meaning of the name, but
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's great. Kind of
you can call me Riley.
the idea of like releasing chaos, but also like knowledge and just I don't know, the
Well,
Tao.
just her name, what it means itself is like Pan is like all, and then
Mm.
Dora is like gift. So it's like a gift to all or something like that.
Okay, yeah. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember I was in a class once and we were talking about kind of like that theme of releasing, kind of like a new world. And I don't know, like, do you see a similarity between that myth and like the story in Genesis about like Adam and Eve eating the apple?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's definitely a parallel there. Kind of like curiosity getting the better of oneself and it causing like chaos to enter into the world. But like there was something else, like something I know there's like different versions of the myth as far as I'm aware. And some say like hope or something was like left in the box or something.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, I
but
think I remember that too. Like not everything was let out.
yeah, so like the hope remaining in the box like keeps humanity like hopeful of like finding something to kind of like piece together the brokenness of the world and put it back together to make like a harmonious, habitat. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's something like my anima projection is like that's like kind of what I guess maybe call it as Pandora. It's like my name for her.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's very Jungian because the soul of the man is the anima, is feminine. So,
Mhm.
huh, that's really interesting. I tend to, I guess, in my post-Jungian kind of ideas, tend to feel like there's both the masculine and the feminine within all of us because it's kind of like the yin and the yang. So, like for me, I don't really see like my soul as masculine. I like have both like male and female figures like when I'm dreaming. And I usually, like, my ego dream self is usually female and usually looks like me, but sometimes, I am male in my dreams. And I think that's really interesting. And I think it just kind of like, if you look at it metaphorically and symbolically, it's like the giving and the receiving and the active and the passive and like working, putting forth effort and resting. It's just like the polarity within all of us.
Yeah, would you say your take on Jungian is that he wasn't of the opinion that there's both masculine and feminine characters in the psyche of each gender? Because I always thought like he did say that there was.
Well, you know, I don't know because of his statement that, he was pretty clear that the soul of a man is feminine and the soul of a woman is masculine. So it seems like he saw your gender aligning with your like like your I guess like your social gender aligning with your biological gender, and then like the inner psyche is led by the opposite. So So yes and no, but interestingly enough, I was watching the movie with Sabina Spielren, like that featured her and Jung, and she asks, well, because she like in the scene, which I don't know, like if this is super accurate or not in history, but in the scene, like there, like Jung and Spielren were sitting on a bench, and she like kisses him and then he says that's really forward for a woman and she says well don't you believe there's the masculine and the feminine within all of us and he says I guess so. So I think it's something that's maybe not really clear from my
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah, I could see that ambiguity. I know it's something that's one of the more contentious things of Jung's you know, theory in kind of like modern Jungian circles is like the whole like gender and like contrasexual archetype of the opposite sex and all this. But I don't know, like my takeaway was always that like Jung thought that everyone both had masculine and feminine qualities in their psyche. Now, the image of the man's soul, maybe he could have said like was an anima projection, so like a feminine image, and that for a woman's soul it was masculine or the animus. Um, but like that's just like one factor of the soul. So like
Mm.
obviously like I would think Jung, if I'm not mistaken, would say that there's also obviously a masculine part of the man's soul or psyche, and there's a feminine aspect to the woman. So I don't think it's like a clear cut black and white like the soul of a woman is masculine and vice versa for the man. But I don't know. It was something to definitely like take a keener eye on in reading more of his collected works and what have you to kind of maybe nail down uh exactly what he was communicating on that issue in particular.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It is interesting, but whether he really explored the duality of each individual or not, like that's kind of where I land, whether it's like I'm kind of evolving Jungian thought or not. Because, I mean, we all have, like, we all deal in the world with various genders and we might all have like a mother and father complex. So it just would make sense that we're constantly, like expressing and thinking about like a multi-gender in a multi-gendered way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty apparent to me from my vantage point that it's pretty obvious that everybody has like masculine and feminine qualities.
Hmm.
I think they're like the exception where like hyper masculine men and hyper feminine women. Like I think that like on the periphery, like those exist, but for the most part, we're all like kind of some kind of mix ratio between the two. Um, but yeah, I'm right there with you in terms of like that kind of gray ground of like seeing both within myself and recognizing both within others. I think it's like really important and just in terms of like wholeness and following like the way or like the Tao or like just to be able to like give in to the masculine when it's time to or like to the feminine when it's time to and not like holding rigidly to preconceived notions of ourselves or others. I think is important for like healing in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I feel like for all of us, we can both evolve both poles of ourselves, right? Like there's a way that like the masculine within needs to evolve and the feminine. And when you look at how our society and our culture leans, it kind of leans, I think, on the shadow side of the masculine, kind of like over productive and achievement and thinking about logic and numbers. And like, I think as a species, like we're maybe trying to like correct that imbalance with more of the feminine and then also evolving the masculine.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hope we get there in terms of like achieving it before the wheels fall off and society just like completely tanks and dives and goes somewhere that's no bueno for anybody. So I know, it's there by and large already, but it can always get worse. And I just hope enough like individual people do the work necessary for like individuation and all that jazz, to like, because I love the like Jung says, society is just like a collection of individuals, and so like the work that needs to be done is like on an individual level, um, to address societal issues. Like individuals need to address their own issues. So I hope, yeah, fingers crossed, man. Just
I know.
hope we get there.
Yeah. Well, should we dive into the pre-Socratics?
Yeah, let's do it. So I guess I wanted to ask you like what you thought of the pre-Socratics before going into this book and kind of like what may have changed as a result of reading this book. Kind of the broad general question to start off with, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. Well, I guess if I thought anything about them, it was kind of like they were scientists or proto-scientists and kind of focused on natural philosophy. And I guess after reading, and then I guess the kind of story where they are the pre-Socratics, they are the beginning of Western philosophy because we're going from mythos to logos. And after reading them, and having like some of them align the four elements with different like Greek gods, like the earth is Hera or fire is Zeus, and Empedocles like kind of like throwing himself apparently into Mount Etna to like be a god, and the whole like religious cult with Pythagoras, that I feel like mythos is still kind of entwined in religion,
Yeah.
spirituality, and there's like also ethics. And so it kind of like blurs the borders that I guess I had in place before.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a big takeaway for me as well. I mean, I knew like, there was some mysticism involved in Pythagoras's like, I don't know, like whatever cult.
Yeah.
And then I knew, Thales is like famous for saying like all things are full of gods. And these are supposed to be like the early scientific thinkers of the Western world. And just like you say, like that line between mythos and logos is like super blurred. And like I don't know if there's a single one of them, by today's standards that wouldn't be called like magical thinking or like woo-woo thinking or like, very spiritually oriented. And that even goes for like people like the atomists, I think, to a degree, which is pretty wild.
Yes. Yeah, I just finished the section that we were supposed to read this morning, and I actually really, really like The Atomist. And actually I was really surprised because in some of the fragments, it seemed very stoic, like talking about moderation and even Epicurean, like your desires create needs, and so you can find greater happiness if you limit your desires. And I thought that was so interesting because I thought basically those ideas like came later, but they were, in the pre-Socratics.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was kind of like wild how many I guess like what would you say? Rudimentary ideas like picked up by later philosophers I
Hmm.
kind of like saw in like, just the smallest gleamings of throughout reading about the pre-Socratics. I'm thinking of like Descartes maybe being influenced a lot by I believe it was who was it? He has one of the harder names to pronounce. Anaxagoras.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like
That's pretty good.
um his like role of the mind being super important in like the
Oh,
creation of
yeah.
things. And
Absolutely.
like so there's like these elemental you know there's yeah elemental principles for like the creation of the world, but then there's also like this role of the mind. And there was something in here about yeah like dualism and how everything goes together when it comes to like the mental framework of the universe versus like the material framework. And I was like, I could just see you know, Descartes like totally like chewing on this and, and like becoming what we know as Descartes, like through just contemplating on kind of Anaxagoras' philosophy. So there
Yeah.
was many instances in reading this where I was like, oh yeah, I can totally see where later philosophers picked up on these guys.
Yeah, and even like with Xenophanes and the early skepticism, and that was Descartes' whole thing. I think like besides the Nietzsche class that I'm taking a philosophy of science class, and it's called Cosmology and Culture. And so we are kind of talking about the scientific side of things.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and so I was thinking in terms of Descartes, like maybe his sort of epistemological, like hypochondria, like kind of thoughts were based on Galileo, right? Like because
Mm,
Galileo in the beginning of the telescope, like that was a paradigm shift. That kind of said, hey, everything we've been thinking for like the last 2000 years is actually like not exactly true, like with the position of the Earth in terms of the sun and the orbits, like the movements of the skies. And so I would think that anyone living in that time, and Descartes and Galileo, they were basically like just like a couple years apart. And so
mm.
Descartes was getting to see this in real time. And I can imagine that everyone would be asking, well, if we're wrong about, the celestial realm, what else are we wrong about? Because we didn't have this tool to really look into the sky clearly. And so, what else are we not looking clearly into?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's funny too. Like on the other hand, like the way the pre-Socratics are like kind of dogmatists to a large extent. It talks about that, like I think in the introduction.
Mm,
Um, because they don't like really like discuss, or at least not the surviving fragments that we have of a lot, like their methodology or like their verification, like all that kind of like hard science that we think of today, like hasn't that like hadn't really happened yet. So by and large, they were dogmatists, and just like their kind of like opinions on things. Like, okay, so it's like twofold. On the one hand, I was always really impressed when they got stuff right
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible that like thousands of years ago, I think it was Thales, that was saying that like the solstices aren't always equal. It's like
Mm,
how you go ahead and know something like that? Like that's like just wild to me. Like I'm pretty sure it was him. Yeah, it was. Um, that to me is just incredible. And then on the other hand, like they're kind of going back and forth about, I don't know, like why a woman gives birth to a son rather than a girl, and just like how like unverifiable and just kind of like it's like shooting like arrows, in the dark and seeing
yeah.
like like seeing what hits. Um, But even one of them on that too. I think it was who was that? It was maybe the Adamus. I think it was um most famous Adamus, um, Democritus.
Hmm.
I think he said that. I think he got it kind of right about you know conception and it being like a result of like the man's semen, like having a certain composition that made it be a boy or a girl, which is pretty accurate, depending on the testosterone level of the man at the time, will make it boy or a girl. So, but yeah, and then I could see Descartes, just kind of being there like in university and getting really frustrated because people are like arguing about how many teeth horses have. And he's just like, let's just go out there and like count the damn teeth. Like, introducing more of like the scientific method of like verification and like replication and all that. Um, so yeah, that was just kept striking me over and over again reading the book is like it's amazing when they got things right, and it's just kind of embarrassing like the way they got things wrong. These like flat Earth conspiracy theorists of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Some of them, anyways.
Yeah, the disc, like Thales's disc riding on water.
Yeah, and
Or
like on
like,
air, it's just like
yeah, or not
hovering.
air. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Xamander, Xamides, yeah, that was him. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And just that we kept some of the terms, right? Like we still talk about atoms today. They're not indivisible, but we still kind of like that tradition is alive within our scientific language today. And,
Yeah.
even though they only discovered like four elements, we still rely on like the periodic table. And so, I don't know how many there are, like 100 or more, but so they kind of had their intuitions, I think, were valid. I can follow their reasoning, even though we no longer are under like a pre-Socratic kind of scientific paradigm. Like I kind of understand, like
Hmm.
if you're having to choose like one fundamental principle, like water or air kind of makes sense, right? Because if you're alive, then you breathe, right? And you're
Hmm.
moving, and we have to drink water, and our bodies are made of water. And so so I think they were observing with their senses as much as they could, and then they had to like go further with just like inferring. They had to infer from the observations. And I'm really impressed because I think you do have to think a lot about these things to kind of come up with the theories that they did.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and um, you know, they were smart. They were like they weren't dummies. Um, it is impressive. I think what I always loved about the Pre-Socratics, like I remember taking like Philosophy 101, and I think my professor just did like a really good job of like walking through each one of them and kind of like the bare bones, but like the essentials of like, what they thought like the arche or the principle was that underlined the world and why they thought that like with like you say like with Thales like we all drink water if you go to like a seed of a plant and you grind it down like far enough it'll be moist. There's like moisture to like all living creatures, um and then so on and so forth, like kind of like each with one of their dogma or like their idea of what it was. um it just kind of became like an obsession of mine, like what is the world made up of, or like what is like the nature of reality. And I just love how like it's like what they focused on by and large. Obviously like you have ethics in there and you have like cosmology in there and you have like stuff like meteorology and like stuff like that. But like all that is part and parcel of like what makes up the world and how it all what kind of works together. And so for me, like they've always had like a special place in my heart. Like I was super fond of Heraclitus,
Mhm.
and I didn't get like super great vibes from Heraclitus. Like I know he put in like half of the fragments of Heraclitus in the section on him,
Oh yeah.
but I was kind of like, I don't know if it's just because like 20 years has gone by and a lot's changed and maybe it takes more to impress me now, but like uh, you know, taking Philosophy 101 when I did like 20 years ago, like coming off of like a spiritual born again experience, and then I find out there's like a philosopher from like 2000 plus years ago who talked about like divine logos or fire as being like the underlying principle of reality. And I was like, oh yeah, like That guy's awesome. Like that guy's like my homie. Yeah, and then I think what's really interesting is in terms of like how you were saying like we carry the terminology with us today, like with the atomists and obviously before the mechanical quantum mechanic like revolution in physics, like that was kind of like the standard scientific answer is like, yeah, things are made up of atoms. Um, and now, of course, we know that like atoms are made up of a bunch of other things, and it basically gets boiled down to like these quantum fields.
Mhm.
And there's a or a physicist who's like super keen on philosophy, something Rovelli or something like that. I forget his first name.
Okay.
I think he's French, but he talks about how in his book, reality is not as it appears, I believe is the title, how our current understanding of like the quote unquote nature of reality, like the fabric of reality, is like most closely in line with Anaximander's view of like this infinite or boundless, indeterminate, um, he called it a pyrrhon or like
Mhm.
the boundless or the infinite. And that's basically like the best like take on kind of like what the quantum field is. Because like in the absence of anything like this, quantum field will like self-generate and like bring matter like into being. Um, so I think that's pretty wild that like Anaximander kind of like nailed it. It's
Yeah,
like a long time ago.
or just like the ideas of like quantum entanglement or the that idea that when you observe something, it changes, and when you look away, it's going to be something else. And we have all these mathematical theories. So we kind of know things, but we even like scientific experts, like a lot of things that they know are from like indirect knowledge. It's not like direct knowledge, right? It's not like we can see it or observe it empirically.
That's true.
Um, and so there's always going to be this kind of mystery, I think, to things. And I look in like the spiritual community as well, like maybe like, I don't know what you want to call it, like new thought or new age. But like thinking about like the focus on numbers and frequencies as taken from like Pythagoras, like I have like a Schumann device where you can change like the frequencies, and like the earth has a frequency of like 7.83 hertz. And like even our brain waves, like they've done scientific studies of people when they're meditating and they go into gamma a lot. And how like a dysregulated nervous system, will often be like in beta instead of go through all of the wavelengths throughout the
Mhm.
day and the night and like all the sleep problems. And people are as well like interested in like angel numbers, right? Like if you have 1111, that's a meaning, or 555 is a meaning. And so I think we still in different realms, whether it's science or spirituality, like are still in communication with the pre-Socratics.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, definitely in terms of like the spiritual movements like modern and current and relevant, like you can definitely see echoes of Pythagorean like theorem and like all things being numbers, and that's a great parallel there with like the angel numbers and what have you.
Yeah.
That's a good take.
And like Nikola
Um,
Tesla and 369, and he says like if you want to
that's
know
right.
the world, know, like it's like energy, frequency, and vibrations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I think there's something like somewhat valid about kind of every take, you know. I thought it was super interesting. I don't remember this from philosophy or reading up on the Pre-Socratics before, but Empedocles, like his fourfold like elemental principles
Hmm.
or arche or whatever, and
Yeah.
then but being guided by two forces like love and strife.
Yes.
I never recall like learning that before, and I thought it was like so it like gave me such like Simone Weil vibes, like gravity and grace, like these two forces like kind of balancing out and like compensating each other throughout the cosmos. And I just thought it was like a really like beautiful and poetic like um expression of like the forces in our lives. But yeah, I was pretty stoked to learn that about Empedocles.
Yeah, I really like the forces too. I mean, even if we can't pin it down to something like empirically in reality, um, like l- understanding my life and my own like shadow work and healing work, I think a lot about how when I'm guided by fear, a lot of times there is separation or there are walls or there's disharmony in my relationships. And when I can like take another approach, love is like definitely a concept to unpack, but when I can meet people and be more present and be curious and be open and not be led by my ego, there seems to be like more harmony and more connection.
Yeah, no, I think it, because it's kind of like the extremes, you know, of like human emotions or you could say like forces in life. It's like the love to unite and to like grow with and abide with versus like just being down on your damn luck and feeling like the whole world's against you and like you just want to tap out. So I feel like in terms of just like catching the two extremes of the highs and the lows, the goods and the bads, like there
Mhm.
he it was well chosen the forces that he said was like responsible for directing the course of universal flow. I thought it was super interesting to how Anaxagoras or something like
Mhm.
that. He kind of like I don't know, like it was pretty wild to me that I don't remember reading learning this about him either, the role of mind in his philosophy and how like mind controlled everything, um, more or less. And I thought it was strange. Oh, maybe that's what it was. I think that's what it was for Descartes. Or maybe that was just my own mind working that way with the atomists and how like there's like soul atoms. Um, I
Oh,
don't know. It
yeah.
seems so strange to me to have this notion of like well, because he says that Democritus says that you know we can't trust our senses because um you know everyone perceives things differently and like what's really there is like not really or what we perceive to be there isn't like how it really is. But we can know the truth through our minds, through like thinking and not through the senses, which I think something obviously that influenced Plato a lot. Um, but the thing about that is that our minds are predicated on the same material substrate as everything else. So it's like, how can you really trust your own thinking in regards to things when it's still like predicated on the same material substrate as everything else? And then in addition to that, he says like a lot about the soul.
Mhm.
And I just don't get how soul atoms are like qualitatively different than like material atoms. Like that's like a whole kind of like mind body conundrum wrapped up in his philosophy that I was wishing we had more on like terms of like how he fleshed that out in terms of just how they could interact or how they could work together and but yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, were the soul atoms completely different than, or like atoms are just, okay, like configurations of things for the atomists. The
Hmm.
only change, like the only reason there's like plurality and a variety and diversity of things is because of the like ratios of atoms and void within everything. And then I guess there are different like I can't remember the qualities of the atoms. It's like shape and texture maybe.
Yeah, shape, size, and well, relation, I think, or like how they're related to each other, I think, or position maybe is what the term was.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, and how they can like interact or connect.
hmm Yeah, like similarities and differences, and the ones that are similar like kind of coalesce, and the ones that are different like create changes. Um, Let me see where it says talks about soul atoms because I thought that was pretty wild.
I thought it was
It
cool that when you think about like, well, where is the soul located? Like they felt the soul atoms were all throughout the body.
hmm Yeah, my takeaway was it seemed like um for every like atom in our bodies there was like a soul atom like attached to it or something. That was like what I thought I understood from what was being said, but I'm gonna try to re-find it.
It says in T24, it says T24 shows that they regarded soul as atomic, made up of spherical, fiery atoms because they are the most mobile, and the soul is what imparts movement to living creatures.
Yeah, yeah, that was the one I think I had in mind. But I just maybe I'm wrong in that like they were part of like every atom like kind of in conjunction. Maybe they're just like separate um altogether. But yeah, good find on that.
I mean, because I guess if people have an idea of the soul or like believe in the soul, it is kind of interesting to think about whether that is within the soul is within the realm of time and space, like if there is a location, or if that's just the wrong question, like where is the soul located? I think that a lot of, well, for me, when I was growing up, I always thought the soul was like in the heart. Um,
Hmm.
but then I recently came across this idea that your soul isn't necessarily even contained within your body. It's more as well like it extends outside of your body as like an energetic field.
Yeah, kind of like a aura or
Yeah.
like the etheric body.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the soul, I think, I mean, that's a mystery for sure. Um, I definitely think the soul is what enables the rest of our, you know, our mental life, our emotional life, our physical life, our relational life, like with other people. I think it's like the operating system, or so to speak, that like directs how all that goes. So like if our soul is damaged and ruined, we're gonna experience turmoil in terms of like our thoughts, our feelings, our relationships, our physical health. And if our soul is, pure and well aligned with like spiritual or divine truth, basically, that all those things will go a lot smoother and better. But as far as where it's located, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I know, was it, I forget what philosopher said that like the soul and the body are one, or I don't know. I feel like it's a very Nietzschean thing, insofar as she would entertain the idea of a soul at all.
Hmm. Well, I think
But
that, the idea of
go ahead.
reincarnation, right? Like it was interesting that some of the pre-Socratics believed in reincarnation, and it seems to me that, the soul would be the part of who we are that is eternal and like that reincarnates. Even though our personalities or our bodies could be different in various incarnations, like our soul is what goes along with us. And if there's the idea of like the higher self or like the oversoul, it's like maybe in any particular incarnation, we don't get all of our soul. We only connect with our complete soul, like in between incarnations. I mean, that's not a pre-Socratic idea. That's just more like, I don't know, my idea, like, or
Yeah,
an
no, that's an
idea I've
interesting
heard.
idea. I mean, it could be why, when we're born, we like forget, and some people when they're young, they like remember these things from past lives just because like they were connected to it. And then, as they grow older, they kind of forget. But I was gonna say, yeah, it's interesting. What you said reminded me of something. I think it was in the Pythagorean the section. Like, they believed something about the soul being like related to the body, but then it created that problem, kind of like, well, then if you're reincarnating into different bodies, then how can your soul like survive the transmigration? Um,
Oh yeah, about, okay, yeah, it's on page 96, T7. So they try only to describe the soul, but they fail to go into any kind of detail about the body, which is to receive the soul as if it were possible for just any old soul to be clothed in any old body. So yeah, is that what you're talking about? Like there has to be some kind of alignment. It's not like two separate things, like your body doesn't represent your soul at all. Like there's this idea that there should be some kind of alignment.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, that was man, you're good at finding those references quick. That was impressive. That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting if you think that for some reason or another that the body is related to the soul or like an extension of the soul and you believe in reincarnation, that would be a hard, I mean, I guess you could say, you know, depending on the life you lived, like you lived a great life and now you're gonna go and I don't know, what's like an enjoyable state in the animal kingdom, or you're gonna go on to like have a great human life, for example. Um, then you could say like the good things you did during your life like formed that helped form like that new body that you were born into, and maybe you're beautiful in like the next life. Or let's say you did some terrible things and then you're either like, no, it just doesn't sound right to say like ugly people have like done bad things. But or like I don't know, like a gnarly like nasty creature, like a critter that crawls on the ground or something. And so like it's a result of your karma or whatever, that like your current state of incarnation is less beautiful. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I've
yeah,
always
I
kind of
guess.
wondered about like the fatalism of the idea of karma. Like, I think I like to think of it more as, it's not like a punishment or a reward, but
Mm,
it's like a lesson that we still have to learn, Like maybe if in one incarnation we are too like focused on, or we are really like beautiful to the world and we're so focused on that and we judge other people because of the way they look. Maybe it's not a punishment if in the next life we're not objectively beautiful. It's that we are getting the opportunity to learn from a different perspective so we can gain more compassion for everybody despite, these things that we can't control.
yeah, yeah, I definitely think to the degree that karma is real, um, it's just a matter of like being in class in like a cosmic school.
Yeah.
And yeah, like learning how to be versus how not to be and so on and so forth. Yeah, I agree with you there. Um, Yeah, it's gnarly how like the idea of heaven and hell and the idea of karma can both be used to kind of like control and manipulate people like um for societal reasons, which isn't necessarily like inherently bad, but it can be inherently like abused or yeah, should like look critically at such ideas for sure.
Yeah, or you could say that, oh, well, someone like maybe I deserve this, what's happening to me, like
Yeah,
something
that's what I have
in
a problem
the
with.
past
Like
way. It's kind of
totally.
like blaming the victim.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you did it to yourself
Yeah. But if
type
it's
thing. So
something like we choose, like, oh, I seem to have this issue with, being judgmental or arrogant or something. So I need to create the kind of incarnation that will help me move through that, and learn that lesson so I can like improve my soul.
yeah, I can definitely say like just in terms of myself, when I've suffered at the result of something that I've done, it is immensely helpful to accept my suffering as a result of like my actions and to like wholly embrace the experience of the pain. And it like really kind of is like transcends like the misery. You know, like the pain might still be there, but like the misery of the pain is kind of like melts away. Um, but obviously accidents happen every day and people aren't responsible for terrible things that happen to them. So
Yeah, it's more like, giving ourselves agency and empowering ourselves by seeing what we can control, right? We can always control the response, or a lot of times suffering comes from like our own ignorance. We don't understand, why someone did something or said something, or why we act a certain way, or why like a pattern keeps coming up in a relationship. And if we can do like some shadow work and try to clarify that, then maybe we can, not feel so much like a victim or not feel so resentful. And we can clear it, like we can start to change our habits.
yeah, that's a really great point in terms of focusing in on where the areas in our lives where we do have control and agency in response to traumatic things that happen, befall us. Um, and there's a great quote that it reminds me of too. Like you don't know what worse luck your bad luck saved you from.
Yeah,
And
that's true. Or even like the idea that, when we don't get something we want, um,
there's
maybe we wouldn't have had like the best time anyway. Like, I mean, I guess, the danger of that is falling into like this is the best of all possible worlds and everything happens for a reason. But like to some extent, I think that is a little bit helpful in moving forward, like I'm reading the biography of like a biography of Nietzsche right now. And, he began as this classical, I think it's called philologist, like language of classical Greek literature. And like, that just didn't feed his soul. He wanted to be known as a philosopher. So he wrote to his college, I think it was like the University of Basel, and he said, "Hey, there's this open position now, the chair of philosophy. Can I switch from being a full professor of philology and go into philosophy?" And the biographer said that the admin kind of like laughed and was surprised, like, because he doesn't have any credentials. And the thing is,
yeah,
like, now, Nietzsche is like the top like 10 philosophers that you think of if you know about Western philosophy. Like he's totally in it, but it's just, they couldn't see his potential. But the thing is that he had to resign from teaching completely anyway because of his health. So, he might have gotten into that position and had to resign because of his health. And so maybe it would have distracted him because he wouldn't have like focused on writing. And now we have all his books. Yeah.
Yeah, like focused on teaching instead of
Yeah.
writing.
Mhm. So you just
Yeah, it's
like, you never
that
know.
yeah, no, it's true. It's a good point. And what you say reminds me of another quote, that there's only one thing worse than not getting what you want, and that's getting it. It's funny. It's a funny
Oh,
quote.
that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think Schopenhauer would say, like Schopenhauer has this line where he says that even if human beings could create the world that they wanted, we would find some way to be unhappy about it, like unhappy about our utopia. And I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I mean, like, why is that, do you think?
because strife rules with love, hand in hand, and in conjunction with the other, archon or arche, the other principles. I think Empedocles is absolutely right, and like uh, yeah, if we had everything we wanted, we would like blow it up just so something unexpected and undesirable would happen that we would have to contend with and grapple with and overcome. I think it's very Heraclitean insight as well. Like strife is the father of all things, or
Mm.
war, or what have you, conflict. And yeah, you, you don't want like the everything handed to you on a silver platter because you'll just like burn down the castle and just so something interesting would happen. But yeah. Yeah, I think that what's crazy to me is I think these guys all have something valuable to say and um, have really like they're all kind of right to some extent. Like,
Yeah.
however, like little that extent is, like there's something like of value in each of them that I think is really important for the study of philosophy to go back to and to learn from for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even the idea that what seems to us like a coming and a going or birth and death is really just energy transforming. Like there's an underlying kind of unity behind the change and the flux. And I always really appreciate theories that can hold like a paradox or like the both and. Like it can both be that there is something eternal and there's something temporal, or there's something that has permanence, but it's also change and flux. Like that just, I don't know, feels really satisfying to me that it can be both. We don't have to choose one or the other.
Yeah, because you see like the validity of each side. Like looking at Parmenides versus like Heraclitus, like
Hmm.
they're both right. Like you
Yeah.
know, um, reality is changeless and it constantly is in flux. Like um, that's what I loved about Heraclitus's use of fire as I would say like a symbol or a metaphor for like the logos that is his uh arche, his principle. It's like fire is constantly changing, but it's constantly the same. So it just it it holds that duality simultaneously. So, uh-oh, am I still good? We're
Oh
good.
yeah. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I was worried my phone might have like kicked me offline, but we're still there, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I
yeah,
would say with Heraclitus, like I have actually like a Penguin Classics fragments, and I feel like there's so much more in this book that I have than is in the first Philosophers. Like, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of testimonia and like even with I haven't read anything of Parmenides, but I feel like there's more to I don't feel like this book like contains like everything that each pre-Socratic offers. Like maybe for some, but like I said, I have this book of Heraclitus and it's like 114 like aphorisms or like little poems.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed by the sections on Heraclitus. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Um, I did like his introduction. I did like how he harkened back to the need to return to some extent to something akin to a pre-Socratic blurring of the lines between logos and mythos.
Yeah.
If like we're maybe to move forward as philosophers in the modern era, um, I thought that was like really spot on. I was really happy to hear him kind of like, you know, validate the importance of like a mythic vision being part and parcel to a philosophical outlook. Um, I didn't love like that you're getting at, and like I've said, his choices on what to include all the time. And I thought the print was like unbearably small, personally. Not
Really?
unbearably, but
I don't know
uncomfortably
if I
small.
noticed that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think, he was packing a lot in. And so I just think it's, oh, and the margins are too small.
Oh,
I need to be able to write more
definitely.
margins.
Right. How do I annotate, you know? Like
Exactly.
I can't write a lot of notes. That's such like yeah, it's the worst thing.
Yeah. So
But I do,
those are,
yeah, I mean, I really appreciated that too, like blurring the lines. I mean, because you can kind of see that with Plato versus Aristotle. Like I think Plato has like is mystical, you know, and he has myth. Like he has the allegory of the cave and he has the myth of air, the soldier that had a near-death experience and went to the afterlife to see what that was like. He has so, you know, in his ideas of the forms, right? And what we is imperceptible is more real than the shadows and what is perceptible in our material world. And I think that's why some people like St. Augustine leaned more toward Plato, and then other people like Aquinas lean more toward Aristotle, because Aristotle seems to be more logical about like the syllogism and premises and conclusions and logic and natural philosophy and um you know, so like I think Aristotle is more the logos and Plato is more the mythos. So you still see that and then you continue to see that like in Nietzsche, you know, his first book was about mythology, the birth of tragedy, right? So he brought into discussion like the Dionysian and the Apollonian like metaphors as like necessary to the world. So yeah, I think that it's kind of like the masculine and feminine that we were talking about in the beginning. Like you have both the mythos and the logos and you have both of those within you and in society and we have to keep them in balance.
yeah, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think we both agree that it's all towards the logical and, logos side of things. Which is unfortunate that like logos gets kind of like wrapped up in that like reason logic, because like to me logos is like divine wisdom that contains it is a myth, like quite frankly
Mhm.
it's a myth, like literally a myth. um and it contains like mythos within itself to some extent. But then, like I think he says it too in the introduction, like every myth is like logic in itself as well.
Yeah.
So, it's like kind of back and forth dance between these two polarities, so to speak. And yeah, I'm happy that like the the editor of this work is pointing towards like they're not, one being good, so to speak, and the other one being like need to be done away with. Um, I thought that was like very heartwarming and it made me happy.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Yeah, I mean, from the Jewish perspective, Logos was like a creative agent that was coexistent with God. And, you think about like how in the New Testament or the Greek scriptures, like they took that Logos, like that's John 1:1, right? In the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. So it's like equated
Yeah.
right there with the divine.
hmm Yeah. And then you can I think it's like one of the Psalms, like talking about wisdom,
Mm.
which is obviously a different word and because it's in Hebrew. I forget what it's called, uh, the Hebrew word, but then like everything is made through that wisdom, and that would be like Christ equivalent, for the New Testament. And that's why, I always was like, Heraclitus is right, like divine wisdom, like logos, the word, like created everything and guides everything. Um, but yeah, I think it's really cool that we can sit here like 2,500 years later from these guys and like, kind of recall, remember, and appreciate what they had to say about like the ultimate nature of things and just how wild some of their ideas were. Like, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and how we're still figuring stuff out today, right? And how truth seems to be sometimes objective and sometimes subjective. Like, if you think about just simple questions that I feel like we should all have the answers to, like, what kind of milk should I drink? Should I drink cow's milk or oat milk? Or, like, why am I having sleeping problems? Like, sleeping is such a natural thing, right? Eating and consuming are just natural things. But sometimes things like there's no one solution for everyone. And we still just don't know a lot. Like, do we really know, you know, all of the under like do we really understand completely like why we dream and what we dream? And I don't know. I mean, I think that we're still working through and confused on like some pretty basic things, aspects of our lives, just like they were.
Yeah, no, there's still so much like to learn and to discover. To quote, who is this? This is probably Democritus. In reality, we know nothing, for the truth is hidden in an abyss.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's like skepticism 101.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
And it's true. We can't ever get out of our own consciousness to have that like God's eye view. We're always kind of looking through a glass darkly.
yeah, I think it's Democritus too, who he kind of emphasized this relationship between like the objective matter out there, or atoms out there,
Hmm.
and how they land on the perceptual organs of individuals, and that's kind of to some extent why like you know you can't trust our sense perceptions. But there was the one of the fragments or testimonia that really like drove home like to what to me anyways like this relationship between the objective and the subjective, like you're saying.
Mm.
And how to me like reality fundamentally is like a relationship between the so-called world out there and in our own subjective state. And so it was interesting to see him kind of like pointing at uh that relationship, that di apparent dichotomy that really they always go together. um yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. And it reminds me of, how we often like are so subjective. We create the world in our own image. It makes me think of Xenophanes when he was saying like if a horse could draw and had a god, they would draw the god looking like a horse.
I know that was so funny. Like didn't Spinoza say something similar? I swear he did, like in a letter to somebody, like, oh yeah, like if a triangle could like draw a god, like God would be it'd be like a triangle. I swear he like
Huh.
got that from Xenophanes, but I could be wrong on that.
Oh,
But that,
that's so
I
funny. I
swear
don't
I
know.
remember. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, no, that's hilarious, and it's so true. Like we say things like, "Oh, the world is such a terrible place," or like, "Oh, the world's so beautiful," and it's really like a projection. A lot, you know, like there's so much more to it than we can understand, but like kind of our take on it, our critique on it, it's kind of part and parcel of like an image of our own self that we can love or hate or fight against or surrender to or work with. And it really gives you a sense of humility and introspection to consider the fact that the world is like a projection of our unknown self, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. Have you ever read Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements?
No, I should. I have it somewhere.
One of his chapters is don't take anything personally, and that's what he sort of talks about. Like, we kind of live in a world of assumptions. We're always assuming why people are acting like they're acting, or, you know, he talks about like someone walking down the hall and you cross them, they could be smiling at you and you would be really happy, like, oh, they're my friend, they like me, but maybe they're just having a good day and it has nothing to do with you. And he says, like, oppositely, like maybe your friend is, you know, quiet and not talking and does and like ignores you in the hall. It might not be about you. Like it's always like about that person. So there's no reason to take everything personally. I thought
Yeah.
it's good advice sometimes when you're like
No,
ruminating about something.
yeah, especially something like kind of maybe more in passing or
Mhm.
something where like you know, you don't have a ton of information to go off of. I
Yeah.
remember I kind of got stood up once by this girl when I was going to college and I was kind of like down and out about it. And my psychology teacher like saw me and he was like, "What's wrong? Like you look like miserable." And I was just like, "Oh, you know, this girl like kind of stood me up." And he's like, "Don't worry about it, man." He's like, "It says more about her than it does about you
Oh yeah.
and like what she's going through." And it's
Sure.
not like don't take it personal. So it's kind of like I was like, "You're right." Like like it's totally good advice. But yeah, I got to read that one. It's like short, right?
Yeah, I think it's maybe like 120 pages or like, and it's a small book, so you can get through it like in a day, I think.
Yeah, people have like sworn by it. Like a lot of people love that book and tell me to read it. So
Yeah, I used to give some of the chapters to like my Composition 1 students, like as
nice.
for them to read.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
And it's like if we're always going to make assumptions, if we have to make assumptions, we can't ask the person, then we might as well make the assumption that leans like toward compassion for ourselves and for others, right? Like it really helped me actually be a better professor because I remember when I first started teaching, I would kind of take it personally if like I had a lot of students absent and I would think, oh, like I must be a bad teacher. Why aren't they in my class? And after reading that, I was like, not everything is about me. Maybe they're just having their own issues. And so
Yeah,
I was able to like
absolutely.
not be affected by it and just kind of be neutral and like be happy when people show up. And then if they don't, then, I wish them like honestly, I wish them well, or maybe I just don't think about it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good perspective to have, not take things personally. Um, were there any big other things that kind of jumped out at you that you wanted to touch on that maybe we haven't?
I mean, I think just for myself, I'm really interested in reading more about Parmenides because I think that was the one that seemed, well, it seemed really cool that he framed his theories by this story of, a young male traveler like being led by the daughters of the sun to go to this goddess and get wisdom.
Hmm.
I just kind of want to like
Very
read,
literary.
yeah, I want to read that story just because it sounds enjoyable. And I know Heidegger has a book on Parmenides. I have it, but I haven't read it. Um, yeah, and it just, I don't know. I think Parmenides was also like the most confusing to me. Um, just the ideas that, you can't, like, what is not doesn't exist, and you can't think of anything that doesn't exist. And if something is seen to come to be or to pass away, then it's not real. And so, um, I just like that doesn't leave a lot of things that are real that we can actually directly know, if anything. And
If
so,
anything, yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if I'm like misunderstanding it or not, but I like that if anyone, if there's anyone that I want to continue like exploring, I think it would be him.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, Parmenides, um, I agree. Like, and I think, and just in terms of it being super fascinating, and that's like such a core fundamental like belief I have that like if something doesn't last forever, then like it's not real.
Mm,
And so that means like this whole like universe and as far as we know in terms of like our
mhm.
current theory of, cosmology and physics and such, like everything's gonna break down, everything's gonna like um die essentially.
Yeah.
Um so if that being the case, like then none of it is ultimately real. Because to be ultimately real, it needs to exist in perpetuity. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
forever. And so like that's one of these things like we were talking about earlier in terms of like, oh, like having it this way and that way. And so like having Parmenides' notion of reality being that like anything that ceases to be never was, really. That I hold as fundamental as true. And then Heraclitus is like everything is constantly in flux and nothing is the same.
Hmm.
And like both of these things are true to me. And so it's like, how do you square that circle, you know? Um, but yeah, so I don't blame you for wanting to pick up on that thread and see where that leads you, because I think it's like super, it's like I would say it's like fundamental to um, philosophy, just in terms of like the importance of Parmenides had in terms of his ideas, like people having to wrestle with that notion, and obviously Plato and subsequent thinkers. Um, so it seems like a good place to continue investigating, studying on for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What about you? What was like, do you think you're going to continue reading about the pre-Socratics, or is it
I
like
would,
enough
I,
for now?
I'm pretty good for now, but honestly, like, also I would say Parmenides as well. Um, And then honestly, like I think he's one of the most like spoken, pre-Socratics who has like the most work like done on him, like
Mm.
out of the sun is something kind of control. So I would say like just in terms of like practicality, that would be like a really good direction to go in terms of subsequent studying. Um, so yeah, I'm right there with you on Parmenides, like wanting to learn up more on him. I'm afraid though that that might kind of be it in terms of Parmenides and his like what we have of him is what's presented in this book, unless I'm totally off base, but
Oh, really?
I'm afraid that I
Oh,
think so.
no.
I think
That makes
maybe
me so sad.
Yeah, I think it's more like a lot of secondary literature that's on him that's available than the other pre-Socratics in general. But I don't
Okay.
know. Hopefully I'm wrong,
Hmm.
but
Well, yeah. Well, at least it'll be interesting maybe to read the books I have that people have talked about him. I guess has like Plato has a book like a dialogue called Parmenides, right?
hmm
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think I have that one.
Yeah, yeah, I'd want to read it for sure after reading this Pre-Socratics now. Definitely.
And I mean, it's cool that the book has, a section about the sophists. I do want to eventually like finish the book and read the sophists because I haven't. And, if you read Plato, like he has so many dialogues that are named after them. So it seems like it would really help me know more about Plato if I knew more about the sophists.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. I never really liked the Sophists or what I
Oh,
learned about them or know knew about them.
uh-huh.
Just on the periphery that I had learned about them at all, whether it be like in philosophy class or just reading up on philosophy. But I will say that this book definitely gave me the strongest pull I've had to like learn about them more and study them and kind of see more what they were about. Because I think some of them I would not like at all, and others
Mm.
I would like. So it's definitely something I would want to visit in the future. Studying up and reading the section of the book that deals with them.
Yeah, and just to get a more nuanced idea of them, because I know there's like in the Platonic dialogues, they're kind of like judged. But then I was rereading Socrates' speech in the symposium because that is, I think, the next text we're going to go through in my intro class. And Diotima, the woman that like drops knowledge on Socrates and teaches him the ways of love, like she's called a sophist. So
Hmm,
like that, so I feel like that's kind of like a positive representation because she's like represented very positively.
that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Um, Definitely gonna check them out sooner or later. It's okay. But cool. So what do you think the underlying nature of reality is then?
I
After
think,
studying the pre-Socratics.
you know, I've always kind of leaned toward a monist idea, like an idea that there is source, that maybe everything is energy, and that it can manifest in an infinite number of ways. Like we can return to source, we can kind of like flow from source to become something. And as we like, I don't know, I don't know how much I believe. Like maybe I 85% believe in reincarnation. And I think I mostly just hope that it's true because I think it would be a really cool idea to be able to kind of play and dance with the universe. And as we evolve in consciousness, we have maybe more creative power to like have more experiences and embody different kinds of beings and create different worlds.
Yeah, that does sound nice. Um, well, very good. Yeah, I've always kind of leaned more towards the monist myself, but I have grown acutely aware of a problem in monism that I think Nicholas Berdyaev or however you pronounce his name, uh, kind of iterates time and time again. And that's like, if everything is one thing and that one thing is like God or whatever it is, then like where is the agency of individuals? How does that come into play? And so he's like he rejects the notion of monism on the basis of like a love for freedom.
Mm,
And I'm not going to lie. it's a very powerful argument for me because I am a freedom-loving person and I'm a volun a
Mm,
voluntarist like, when it
okay.
comes to metaphysics or both like politically and metaphysically. Like I think we have volition of will.
Mm,
I don't think like we're puppets on a string. Um, so it creates this problem. Monism does to some extent. Not saying that it can't be um, overcome. Like there's no solution to how we can both be separate from, like you want to call it source or the underlying fabric of reality, and still maintain like an agency that isn't predetermined or dictated by the currents of whatever is the underlying fabric of reality. Um, but it makes it challenging and it something definitely to chew on and consider. Um, I do like how Anaximander's view is kind of like this um, what is it? It's this alternative to monism or pluralism, and it's like this one thing that's indeterminate. So it's not like this one thing, it's just this one thing that is, it could be anything. It could be, fire, it could be water, it could be air, it could be earth, it could be literally anything. It's this undetermined, boundless, infinite potential.
mm.
And I think that that's like really attractive to me in terms of like having it both be monistic and pluralist at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, the boundless doesn't have a personality. It's not, you know, kind of like this highest supreme God. But it's like you said, it's pure potential and energy. And so, yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
agree
that's
with you. There are problems of monism. I realized that when I read the atomists, I'm like, oh, but the void, you need the void so the atoms can move. So I had an existential crisis on that chapter.
one. What I love about the atomists is that they say that nothing is just as real as something.
Yes.
Like the void is just
Yeah.
as real as the atoms. And like
Hmm.
it's funny because on the one hand I'm like, oh, Parmenides is 100% right. Like if it doesn't exist forever, then it doesn't exist at all. And I'm like, on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, nothing actually exists, and it's important for reality. Like, you know what I mean? It's like so funny. I'm like such a strange, strange bird. But yeah, no, I see the validity and the importance of non-being. Um, to give being like meaning or what have you. Just like you're having this existential crisis on the void.
Yeah.
So good. That's great.
I mean, maybe it can still be the same thing though. It's just something inverted. Like
Hmm.
it's like matter and antimatter. It's like something, it's like a um like I don't know what the appropriate like object would be, but like something turned inside out. It's still the same, like a shirt turned inside out. It's still the same shirt, but you're seeing the inside instead of the outside.
The same thing but different.
Yeah, like a different angle, a
Hmm.
different arrangement.
Well, that's what's so great about the uh, whatever the boundless is like
Mhm.
it can contain both the
Yeah.
atoms and the void and the elements and love and strife and the logos and the mythos and whatever you need it to be. It's just like the one
Yeah.
size fits all.
And I love that he has the idea of justice. He includes that. Like there's movement, there's constant movement, like there's always reparations.
And
Nothing
time.
can stay the
Like
same.
time is important. It's like Chronos, like Saturn.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the judge, he
Hmm.
talks about time being like an important factor in the dealing out of the justice that people deserve or incur upon themselves or what have you.
Right.
That
And that
was
makes sense.
interesting.
Like that aligns with experience, right? Um, who said about like the weather in Oklahoma and just wait a day and it'll change or something like the constant fact, the only thing that's constant is that things will change. Like
Yeah,
nothing stays the same forever.
that's right. That's why Heraclitus is still still right.
Yeah.
Not proven wrong yet. I love that. What trips me out though is Parmenides being like all change is an illusion. This world is full of change, so therefore this world is an illusion.
Hmm.
You know? And so it's like, which I agree. I completely wholeheartedly agree. But like what he thought, I mean, I guess he talked about the sphere and all this and all that. But it's like what happens in a reality where there's no change? You know what I mean? Like it's just a static, constant being, but like what it's hard to like wrap your mind around what such a reality could quote unquote be like.
I mean, I think that like even if the reality hadn't was permanent, had no change, we could still have the experience. Like we could still have the illusion, and that's where maybe the enjoyment or the kind of pause or the release comes. Like, does it matter if you're actually free, if you have the experience of freedom?
Yes, it matters. Very much matters,
Okay.
at least in my mind. Like I said, I ride or die for freedom, so it matters to me a lot. But I understand what you mean. It's like what's his name though? It's like Cyrus inside the Matrix. It's like who cares
Mm.
if it's a fucking illusion? Like I'm gonna eat the goddamn steak and I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna like forget and I'm just gonna be happy. But it's like for me, I'm like, no, like it matters. But I hear you. I just think that in terms of like the world of appearances, yeah, like it's all illusion. I wouldn't say it's like illusion. I get more on with like like the Indian notion of like Maya. It's like dynamic
Mhm.
play. It's like
Mhm.
not ultimately real. It's real enough. It's real as it needs to be. It's here to
Mhm.
teach us some shit about the interconnectedness of all being and the sacredness of life and all this. My question though is like, what would that changeless reality be like? Because our world, our whole experience is, i- i- you know, is changed. Like everything changes. Like the seasons change, the weather changes, our bodies change, relationships change, material breaks down, everything changes in our world. So if the real world is changeless, like we can't even like wrap our minds around what that real world would be like. And that's like, you know, that's just what trips me out about Parmenides. It's like, what did he think the reality, the ultimate reality was quote unquote like? Um,
Yeah, I mean, isn't it a lot like Empedocles, his idea of love, that everything is united? Like our world that we have, like our earthly existence, has to be some mix of love and strife, whether it's love increasing or strife increasing. Like it has to be a mixture because there's some kind of separate experience. But like love for him is the force that everything like comes into each other and is like unified and one, and there's no separation at all. So I think it would be like a feeling of, just kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, like like resting and chilling and like feeling totally connected, total like maybe it's the feeling I haven't done like drugs, but like I think like the maybe the experience of like when you are, you know, some people when they are doing like psychedelics or something, they say that they had such a feeling of like connecting with source. It's like they transcended themselves. They couldn't feel the boundaries of their bodies anymore, the environment around them. And so I don't think it would be a horrible feeling to kind of dip in and out of in our sort of cosmic eternal experiences. Like we might like a little moment of like unity,
Hmm.
that kind of unity consciousness. It might feel a little bit exhilarating, like you know, you're a little bit like high for a bit. And then you go out back into the world and it's, you know, you experience change, which always has a bit of strife because that is what separates, at least according to Empedocles. So
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's not eternal because there's again like if if we can understand like what is as maybe kind of necessary, it's like that's the instinct of whatever this boundless is. That's the desire of Source to create and experiment and play and dance. So I think like I think about like how the ancients really saw time cyclically. Like there's nothing that is constant. Like you're cycling. Maybe we're cycling through this like high kind of chill experience where we're all intertwined and we have no boundaries, and then we go back out and play and you know, create and see what we can do.
Yeah. I think that's probably pretty accurate, just in terms of like the blissful state
Hmm.
of oneness and wholeness, and that being like the spherical one reality that, and that's another weird thing about Parmenides is like, how does that one reality underlie our reality of becoming and illusion and the senses and all that? That's like kind of, in terms of like secondary literature, I don't know. I know you said you mentioned having a book of
Heidegger.
Heidegger, yeah, on Parmenides, and that'd be an interesting thing to see how different philosophers have kind of tried to maybe get in Parmenides' head as to how that that blissful unity and perfection could how somehow that could somehow underlie the world of the senses. And but yeah, I like your take on it. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I agree. Like fundamentally, like I said, like I think the world that we inhabit is like illusion in terms of dynamic play for like a divine drama, basically.
And that's what
So,
I think I mean by the experience of freedom. Like when you're in the blissful united state, like technically you don't have freedom because you are connected and melded and like in this it's like when I guess again, like I'm speaking of what I haven't experienced, but when people take psychedelics, you know, they have to let go of control. They surrender. They have less freedom, right? They're letting the substance, the medicine take them on the journey.
mm.
And so I don't see that as a negative thing. I don't see the lack of freedom in that kind of metaphysical, spiritual sense. I see it as a part of the play, a part of the cycle. And then you go and you have your freedom. And, you know, maybe it's more than just experiencing freedom because you're outside of the unity, you're outside of the bliss. So that has some kind of realness. But it's not like a necessary eternal freedom that you always choose.
I'm gonna have to push back a little bit
Okay, do
and
it.
say that and say that you know, like I'm with you when it comes to like the unity and like the dissolving to an extent, like
Hmm.
even so. And in that sense, it's not like freedom that is being relinquished. It's like
Mhm.
identity, right? It's
Oh,
like
okay. Yeah,
who is this
maybe so.
that isn't free? Like what who, it's like there is no I am who isn't free. There
Hmm.
is just like the primal life force or Godhead or it's like absolute freedom. It's freedom from ego. It's freedom from self. It's nirvana. That type of freedom. But yeah, and then I see when we come back from like those types of surrendering experiences
Hmm.
of like both losing and finding our true selves. And we get, like that's where the nitty-gritty is, right? In terms of losing freedom because you're being pushed up against fucking everything, like work, relationships, fucking the need to eat and drink and survive. And like that's when you're like, oh man, like I could really use some more of that freedom.
Yeah.
um because you're just like assaulted and assailed from all directions almost, it seems sometimes, of people and circumstances like really limiting and challenging your freedom. um but I hear you in terms of like going in and out of that dance and seeing what we can do with it, and hopefully I would think bringing like that blissful awareness into the chaotic world of becoming, and kind of mellowing out and finding some tranquility in the storm, and being able to relate to others in a way that honors that, the fact that ultimately, as much as you maybe not can't stand somebody for some reason or another, or you hate the circumstances that you find yourself in, that like none of it is ultimately separate from you, and that by navigating courageously and bravely, and with that understanding, you can make the best out of the circumstances that otherwise might like just cause you to tap out. So,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, I think that there's a possibility that as we're going back and forth, like coming out of source and returning to source, if that's what we want to call it, or coming out of love and going into strife, and back and forth, we each change both realms. Like it's like as above, so below, right? Like
mm,
maybe there becomes more, I don't know, like hints or melodies of individual agency that kind of flow across the unified consciousness or whatever it is. And so we delight in that, like, oh, this little atom over there is feeling really happy and pleasure. And now I'm feeling it because like the channel like went to me, right? But it's so there's still a little bit of like separation in the unity. And then as you said, like this material world where we're separate, we're individual, we get to have agency and creativity, but then there's still a lot of suffering because we're like pushing each other's buttons and not understanding, why there's misalignment, maybe that gets smoothed over. Because then we all feel like, well, what are we fighting for? What are we against? Maybe we communicate better, or we're more understanding or whatever it is, and we become more of a family instead of like individual people trying to survive.
yeah. Yeah. No, I like how you bring in the notion of like as above, so below, as within, so without. And
Hmm.
I think that's it's a good place you know, to touch on and really to dwell on, and wanting to bring that blissful state into the world of becoming, um, make it a little more happy and, you know, just pleasant a place to be. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, even in Revelation, doesn't it say like the old world passes away and the new world like descends? It's like heaven. It's like we're not like going up to heaven or something. Like heaven is coming down on earth and like transforming earth. So it's a new earth.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
Heaven
earth
comes
versus
down.
heaven, right?
Yeah, we don't go up. Heaven comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a funny part about it's funny with like the people who believe in the rapture, like they're going up, the heaven's coming down,
Oh
so it's
yeah.
like they're like missing the boat. It's like, oh no, going the wrong place. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
I didn't actually know until I don't know if you caught the wave of Rapture TikTok like months and months ago. Like there was like a day where Rapture was supposed to happen.
That was a big
And,
one.
yeah, and so and I missed it, I guess. But
Missed the boat.
no, still
Missed
here.
it again.
I wasn't quite clear that like I grew up in my version of Christianity, which was evangelical, thinking that the rapture was just something that like every Protestant Christian believed. But then I started looking into it and it's like, no, it's really just the crazy charismatic evangelical Protestants. So I didn't know that it was kind of niche.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of those crazy charismatic Protestant evangelical Christians. So, I mean, I guess I can't fault you for thinking it was like more widespread than it
Mhm.
may otherwise be, but like it makes up a pretty decent size, and it's like a pretty vocal, on the rapture. And like for instance, if you were to like listen to Christian radio or something, like chances are whoever you're going to listen to on Christian radio believes in the rapture.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's a good point. Like it's not a universal doctrine of Christianity by any means.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I keep missing out on those raptures, man, I tell you. One of
Yeah.
these days I'm gonna make the cut.
Well, the date keeps getting changed. Like it's like always the wrong calendar or something.
Yeah, of course.
So,
It's always funny that like people think this is the one. It's like, come on, guys, we've been through this.
I know. And then, and you have like outside the Christian community, like the New Age community, there's talk of what is it? Like the solar flash and the 3 days of darkness. I don't know if you've caught that
Oh, I
algorithm
fully
wave,
believe in that.
but there's really?
Oh, that's gonna happen like 100%.
Right.
I mean, not like for any like,
Another
I
name
mean,
for the rapture, really.
huh?
It's like another name for the rapture. It's like the same thing, right? Like
Oh, is it?
it's us wanting like the 3 days of darkness and the solar flash. It's like it's kind of it has the same desire. It's that we like and even like apocalyptic films are kind of the
Hmm,
same. It's like and I think that was kind of the impetus in the idea of like the flood in Genesis. It's like
hmm.
we realize that I don't know, like I don't want to be pessimistic, but like the way we're doing things is so dissatisfying. We really need like a leap of consciousness to kind of radically change things. And I think that that
Really
desire
good.
is really widespread.
Yeah, so I want to understand the flash of light in the 3 days of darkness. So what's the theory that like the sun's gonna burst a big flame and then there's gonna be 3 days of darkness and then what?
Well, what it is that there's going to be a solar flash where we're going to download like
Hmm.
cosmic codes to
Oh, okay.
evolve our body, minds, and souls. And then we have 3 days of darkness for that transformation to kind of happen. And then
Yeah.
we emerge as like a new world.
Oh, okay. I thought it was gonna be like solar flare hits, the electrical grid goes down, there's like 3 days of chaos, and then I don't know, like society collapses. I was like, yeah, that's gonna happen for sure. I was like, I
No,
fully
no,
believe in that.
there's a good like it's optimistic.
Okay, okay. So we're gonna get like a gnarly download from
Yeah.
the some sacred energies from the sun, and
Yes.
then we're gonna be like kind of dormant or something for three
Mhm.
days. And when we reemerge, we'll be like an enlightened species,
Yeah.
ready to like take our, mature place in the world
Hmm.
as like the guardians and stewards of this beautiful planet.
Yes. Well said.
That's that is very optimistic, and it does smack of a little bit of a rapture type
Yeah.
optimism. But I
Because
like it.
they do the
I
same
like the
thing.
idea.
Like on YouTube, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, like the angels have told me that because there are people that channel, right? Like different beings. The angels have told me the solar flash is really soon. And then like years pass, and then like we're on a different timeline. It's now soon
Oh
again.
yeah, the
So
timelines. Yeah, yeah.
it
Everything,
keeps getting pushed.
everything you get, evened out by us and our timelines and where
Right.
we're at. Like, oh, we're in the wrong timeline.
Yeah.
Dang it. Yeah, no,
That was
that's
the
funny.
old timeline. Now we have a new story.
Yeah, this is all new territory, but it's coming. Like,
Yeah.
mark my words. Follow me for more. That's funny. That's super fucking funny, dude.
I mean,
There's
but
like
even
nothing
there's
new under the
the
sun.
verse in the Bible, like you don't know the day or the time that Jesus is coming back. So,
Mm-hmm.
like the thing about, us humans is that we live in a world of theories. We just have a limited knowledge. Like despite people having like special access to outside, maybe like divine knowledge, we're really just waiting and hoping for better things, I think.
Pandora's box, dude. She just
Yeah.
left that hope in there, and we're just we're just like, clinging on to some kind of
Yeah.
hope, man.
We're not gonna let
Yeah.
it go.
No, I can't let it go, dude. It's just coming on a different timeline, or maybe,
Mhm.
next year, but that's too funny, man. I was gonna say, that's too good. Yeah, and it also says in the Bible that there's nothing new under the sun. It's just like different
Mm,
iterations of the same thing. And
yeah,
I'm glad to know, I'm happy you told me about the New Age version of the rapture. So now, I'll recognize it when I see it, and I won't think
yeah,
they're just talking about like you know, the societal collapse and the solar flare and the downing of the grid. So
yeah. People sabotaging the network. That's not what it's about. It's not practical at all.
yeah,
It's
yeah. I
cosmic
mean,
forces.
yeah, got it. Okay, good to know. I will keep an eye out for that and see if it comes. It's probably going to be in my algorithm now that we
Yeah,
had this
because your
conversation.
phone
It's
is
gonna
listening. It'll
all the
pop up.
time. I'm like, honestly, like, real talk. I've
Yeah.
been trying to like delete Instagram, Facebook, like all this stuff because I feel like the predictive power and
Mm-hmm.
the influence now, like it,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, like I'll think something and it'll like be on my feed. I'm like, fuck this. I'm
I
like, no,
know.
no, no. I'm like, this is scary. Like, this is not good. Like, and it's not always a good thing, like it can influence people towards like not healthy outcomes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do wish that, and I know that, Instagram wants to give us like our feed based on what it wants to advertise, but I do wish there was a kind of app where we could just be on it with our friends and then like post content and then see our friends' content. There's no way to do that like on Instagram. Like if you go through like if you check your feed, it's your friends and then it's like random stuff that,
Mm,
it's
yeah.
promoting to you. And so like I don't know, we need like an off the grid app so we can just like form our intentional communities and
What
tribes.
about like Telegram or a Discord or there's that MeWe or whatever, but that's just like filled with like neo-Nazis.
No, no.
Whether they're real or fake, I don't know, but there's just like it's crazy. But yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be on board for something like that. Something that isn't like manipulating
Mhm.
my life, like
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like things
in the
I'm not
basis of it.
even looking for. Sometimes I don't want to look for like news events or what's happening, but then
Mm.
it's like it comes and then I watch something and like I don't know. Sometimes
I hear
I
you.
get freaked out by what like the algorithm is giving me because I'm like, did I ask for this? Like
No, I mean, yeah, I think some things it kind of like will know or it will think that, so to speak, that like we're gonna enjoy something, but other things I think it like, you know, I don't think like will like guide us towards certain things. And I don't think that direction is always like beneficial. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like maybe sometimes, yeah, like okay, cool, I'm seeing like how to work out in this like more effective way, or I'm seeing this thing on, I don't know, some esoteric teaching or something. But like a lot of the times it's like as of recent, it's like I don't know. I don't want to like give specifics, but
Yeah.
things where I'm like, this is like freaking me out, and this, if
Hmm.
I were to like allow this to influence me, like I very
Hmm.
well could, like
Yeah.
I could like blow up my life and like ruin it like significantly. So I'm like, I want to get off of it, but like it won't let me delete it.
What do you mean? You can't
Like I
delete
tried
it.
to delete it, and it's like it just like goes like it's trying to delete, but like it never does. So
Oh
I maybe
no.
gotta try on a desktop. Maybe that will work better than like trying on my phone or something. But
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to delete apps.
I think they make it like a little a pain, So it's like, oh, if you just give up, then like you're just gonna stay on it and be on it for like 12 hours a day, and they're just gonna like, what I mean, do their thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
I you should be able to for sure. I sort of just don't want to delete the. I don't want to just delete the app. Like I want to delete my account.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that is difficult because they always say that, like, oh, you can delete your account, but it's still in
Oh yeah.
archives for a
Oh yeah.
certain amount, which I think means like you can't really ever delete what you've
No,
put
no.
on the
No,
internet.
it's true. Like there's no I get that. That
Yeah.
my problem is, if I just delete the app, like I don't know, a month or two will go by and then I'll probably just like re-download it and then open it up
Yeah.
again and then just be right there where I was. But like I just feel like with the rate of change of like the AI and the predictive like programming, so to speak, like
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm getting pretty uncomfortable, pretty fed up.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of studies about like AI psychosis and like, I always when I read that, I'm like, oh, I can avoid that. Like that's not going to happen to me, but you just never know because you're participating in all of the social media. And so maybe it's like that metaphor with like the frog in the pot, like you turn the water up just really, really slowly until like you can't jump out anymore.
Yeah, boil the frog slowly.
Hmm.
That's a age-old tactic. Yeah, so fun times. But definitely want to like bring the heavens down, enjoy that blissful peace of unity and get off Instagram and Facebook. But
Yeah, it is hard though, because I mean, I really enjoy taking like a picture of my books and then putting on the Amaro filter, like it looks like sunlight is like from heaven is like flowing down on Hegel.
no,
Like I
I
just
love your
enjoy
page.
that aesthetic.
No, it's a great. Like yeah, no, I there it's really there are a lot of great things. Like Facebook Marketplace, it's a great place to like
Mhm.
buy stuff on the cheap. It's
Yeah.
like a great tool. It's just I don't know, man. Like I'm getting to the point where it's like I don't know if the tool is worth it. Like I'll have like, someone else have Facebook Marketplace in my household and like if we're looking for a piece of furniture, a desk or whatever, like just hop on there. It's like I don't need to have one. But I will miss if I do delete it, I will miss your post for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like that'll like you're one of the only people really that I talk to, I think, on Instagram. So it's like I'll lose my only real friend on
We'll
it.
be friends. We'll be friends.
Okay.
I guarantee you. You just have to send me like an offline version of your post so I
Okay, I can
can
do that. Yeah.
that'd be cool. I'd appreciate
Okay.
that.
We'll move it through to text.
Yeah. Cool deal. I'm glad we uncovered the nature of reality.
Yes,
Like
we
we
figured it
really,
out in
yeah,
these
we
two
there's
hours.
nothing left to say. I used to jokingly say, tongue in cheek, that all of um everything important in philosophy was dealt with by the pre-Socratics. I feel
Mm,
like that was not accurate, but I used to say that like 20 years ago when I was so enamored with them. But
yeah. No, I
I'm
think it
glad.
is. Like Whitehead says that like philosophy is just footnotes to Plato, but that is maybe what else has changed. Like after reading the Pre-Socratics, I'm like, no, Alfred North Whitehead, you're wrong. It's footnotes to the Pre-Socratics, not Plato.
Yeah, well, again, it's interesting to see like how much of their thought influenced him and Aristotle's thought. So, I mean, to an extent, to a degree, like there is something there.
Hmm.
They were really interesting thinkers who did a lot of good work, and I'm really sad that we don't have like all of their work in, survives to this day. That's tragic. But I'm really glad that we did this, and I'm super grateful to spend time talking about them with you.
Yeah, same. I am also glad, and my students are glad because now they get to learn about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's important that they still be taught in philosophy class because they're pretty cool. They got some stuff right, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So,
And the textbook that my college uses, like the textbook doesn't mention the pre-Socratics. So I'm like
oh
going off.
really?
Yeah, so that's why
Oh,
I've never really looked into it and taught it, but now, upon your suggestion, I'm like going off book.
awesome. Well, I'm glad they found a way in. That
Yeah.
makes my heart like just so happy because I was so enamored with them when I first came across them, and I'm still impressed with them to this day. So I'm glad we are able to do this. I'm glad um stuck through it and enjoyed it, it sounds like.
Yeah, I really did.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you as well. And I'm gonna look forward to our next venture,
Me too.
Neoplatonism.
Yeah, Neoplatonism. What was the name of it again?
Um, I don't know. Plotinus? Is it Plotinus?
Yeah, I always said Plotinus, but maybe
Like
I'm wrong.
Plotinus. Okay, yeah, no, that sounds much better. By I don't know, some maybe French philosopher named Hadot, Hadot. I don't know.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. I think I'm getting mine like tomorrow or something.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
great.
sweet. Until next time.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thank you. And yeah, I will catch you later. I'm gonna stop recording.